Hello. Anyone on ships? Hello there.
Is he gonna try? He's gonna crash into ours.
No, I'm not. I'm
Where
friendly.
is he? I don't know.
I'm friendly.
Oh,
Really close.
you rock on then,
I'm
bud.
friendly.
Almost ran into our ship, dude.
Hey, sorry. We're a friendly two-man fleet here. We're trying to get a third ship in our fleet.
Alright, we'll be nice to you.
Thanks.
Yeah, he seems alright. We'll leave you to it, mate. It's not like his cannons are aiming at us, is it?
So I got into the Sea of Thieves closed beta after an hour of frantic Googling and troubleshooting, and I've got some thoughts about it. First off, the Microsoft Store is complete trash. If you were walking on the street and you saw the Microsoft Store lying on the ground, you would pick it up, caress it, and then toss it into a dumpster like the brain-dead atrocity it is. I actually found out that the only way for me to get access to the closed beta during the initial server problems and errors people were getting was to cancel my pre-order. That's right, the solution to not getting into the closed beta was to have Microsoft give me back my money, and then, and only then, did they say, "Alright, go on in, Sprizz." So me and a lot of other folks got to play this beta for free. I'm not factoring that into my criticism of the game because I understand the full price of this game is $60 and it was a freak occurrence that no one except everyone who knows Microsoft and their ability to mess up game releases could have predicted. It's also worth noting that I am aware of the closed nature of the beta and that the full release will have various new things added to the game as seen on the Sea of Thieves gameplay overview video I will link in the description below. Instead, I'm just going to give my basic thoughts and feelings on the game at large, as seen with 4 or 5 days with it firsthand. First off, $60 is steep. I don't think I would have any problem paying $30 for this game, especially for the full list of features I've seen listed out as to what the full game will entail. That said, I was willing to pre-order this game, and I never pre-order, for $60 because my god that water looks amazing. I was unaware when I pre-ordered $60 that I was going to be able to play the beta anyways for free after the fact, but I'm pretty glad I did because $60 is asking a lot for what I see as the solid groundwork for a good game on a terrible platform. Here's my pricing list. $60 if you have several friends also committed to spending $60 at release, and you all know that you will be spending hours upon hours grinding and farming loot and participating in epic PvP battles. And $30 if you get bored easily. First off, the graphics. I'd say this is the major selling point. I should mention that I've been into Guns of Icarus for years now and really enjoy the feeling of working together on a team to accomplish some goals in giant ship battles. That said, Guns of Icarus looks like a steampunk mod for Morrowind, and Sea of Thieves looks like you died and went to heaven. This review is going to have a lot of comparisons to Guns of Icarus because I think there are some obvious similarities, but also the ways in which they differ might go in Sea of Thieves' favor, but I'm no expert. I found myself mainly starting up Sea of Thieves because I wanted to experience the world. I live in 99% landlocked Indiana, and I don't get to see an ocean except for once every 3 years or so. The water is rendered so amazingly realistic that it could take my mind and put me in the place. I don't know if another game has been able to do that since the PS3 days, and I saw my brother start up GTA 4, and the graphics blew me away because they were such a leap ahead of what San Andreas and other games had looked like up until that point. Red Dead Redemption is another one that springs to mind, but if you've played Red Dead Redemption lately, you know that the fawning over the graphics is mostly nostalgia. The atmosphere is still there, but the graphics are murky and gross compared to other games out right now. And that's something in Sea of Thieves' win column. The water graphics are leaps ahead of any other game I've seen in the last 10 years, and like GTA 4 was to my pre-Blu-ray eyes, this game mesmerized me. The art style of the character models and islands can be debated, and that's largely going to be subjective. But I think everyone can agree that the water blew them away the first time they witnessed it. It's unreal. And that's what makes you feel like you're in a different world. Now, the gameplay. So the closed beta only had one faction to work for, and it was mainly the exploration/fetch missions where you get a map, find the island, maybe solve a riddle once you're there, and get a treasure chest to bring back and sell. This alone was fun enough for me to play by myself, but I feel the 5-day beta exhausted my enjoyment of this. By day 5 I was mostly just getting on to sail around and find other ships, and try and befriend them or get into some silly hijinks.
on a fleet of ships.
More
We're
ships
fucking
around.
fleet now, boys.
You want a massive musical time, is it?
Yes.
I'm getting ready to go. Get off my ship.
How many harmonies can we make
Okay.
with our music? If I was playing with friends, I'm sure this gameplay loop of explore, loot, sell would be more fun, especially with how much downtime there is when you're traveling from island to island. Your friendly banter will be the thing that keeps you engaged throughout this section of the game, although for how long depends on how funny and interesting your friends are. Eventually, the water stopped piquing my interest, and I would have Critical Role's Season 2 episodes playing on my second monitor so I could turn away and watch once I had successfully charted my ship on its course. The other factions that we've seen glimpses of in the trailers seem to be roughly the same idea, but with different objectives once you arrive on the island. The animal capturing one seemed really cool to me because it included some resource management skills once they were on your boat, and you had to prevent them from drowning if your ship starts taking on water. That's really neat. Imagine another game where your inventory is just a menu where you click and drag things from one square to another. This game came up with a way to make that an element of the gameplay, and that's commendable. However, I saw every island after 5 days of playing, including the Hidden Secret Island, and I'm not sure there's much more they could do to flesh out these places. I was still enchanted by the beauty of the places I visited, but they're all empty, as you would expect a bunch of tiny islands in Pirate Days to be. The outposts and forts offer some changes to the map, but I'm thinking those too will get old after a time. There are many locations that still capture your imagination, like Shipwreck Bay, a place where I would deliberately explore for no purpose other than to see all that I could see there. But once you've explored it, it's kind of all you can do. You've done that. It's boring now. Now I'm going to make PvP its own section because that's a big enough part of the gameplay that it deserves its own category. So if you want to see that instead of listen to me ramble about the emptiness of the world, then go ahead and skip right here. While playing, you'll occasionally see a few other ships on your journeys. Many are small crews or loners like myself who by and large want to be left alone while they grind, and a few are the daring pirates who would rather approach a ship they see and try to loot and destroy them. The main point is, almost every other person you meet in the wild will be hostile towards you, because no one can be trusted and because you've just grinded for 30 minutes to get a couple chests and you gotta get your return on the quest you bought. Now don't get me wrong, I like the risk and reward systems of this game, and the excitement you get when you either enter into a battle with a ship you want to commandeer, or you peel off and try to outrun a bigger ship that's chasing you for your precious loot. This is where the gameplay really comes alive, but I kinda wish there was something a little more friendly. When I went exploring Shipwreck Bay by myself, it'd be nice if there were dozens of other players all exploring it with me. Something like having guilds or factions you arbitrarily join that will immediately make you friends with half the community would be really cool, because it would mean that every ship you run into will not be something you avoid or attack. But I'm aware that having only 16 people to a server is also what gives the world this empty feeling. I'm sure there were tons of other players like me who wanted to just explore Shipwreck Bay, and were even doing it concurrently with me, peacefully, but I never got to meet them because the community is so fragmented across hundreds of servers. Maybe they will make a non-PvP server or something for folks like me, but even then you'll see a handful of people each time you play instead of an ocean overflowing with players and ships. I'm sure this is a technical limitation of the game, and I'm not sure they'll ever make the world populated with more than 16 players at one time. That kinda makes me sad for what this game could be. But if you're also a loner like me who just wanted to go out and find chests sometimes, then it's also kinda nice. It's peaceful. There were almost no times when I had to face another ship while just doing my own thing, and taking some basic precautions like spotting ships from far away, tracking where they were headed, or simply going to another outpost to sell some chests when you see a ship docked at the one closest to you basically guarantees you safety. And that's where the PvP comes in. If someone wants to fight in Sea of Thieves, it's pretty easy to do. But if the ship you want to wreck isn't docked at an island, you're gonna have to get aggressive. And that feels electric at first as you constantly change sail length and direction to perform sharp turns and cut your prey off before they can reach safety, but it also gets tiring. You'll spend 30 minutes just chasing down a ship, and there's not much you can do to best them if they're on their game. Once you reach them, the firefight is usually another 10 minutes or so until you either die or you get on board their now empty ship and search for loot. I was only successful at finding loot once in this game, and maybe that says more about my lack of understanding of what ships I should be going after, but I think a large part of it is just odds. If people have loot, they're going to be more careful, and therefore less aggressive, and therefore harder to catch and kill. A ship without loot is going to be open to fighting because what do they have to lose besides their ship and the 30 seconds it takes to respawn? So by that definition, the majority of ships that will either attack you or that you will be able to catch and attack will be ships that are empty, with no loot. So then it's basically just PvP for PvP's sake. And the PvP is fun, but there are some changes that need to be made before it can be called great. Here's another comparison to Guns of Icarus. Guns of Icarus is essentially just the PvP mode of Sea of Thieves distilled into arena-style combat with no open world or other objectives. You are trying to blow up other ships. And Guns of Icarus also offers way more ships and weapons to make this combat mode interesting. But Guns of Icarus is practically dead at this point, with the community barely clinging on to a few die-hard folks who really like it. I've always had a good time when I play Guns of Icarus, but I don't play it that much because matchmaking is a crapshoot where you might wait 10 minutes just to get into a game. And so Sea of Thieves at least offers some excitement in those 10 minutes where you would otherwise be looking at the menu. And it offers things for people who aren't interested in the PvP, and I kind of fall into that second category, despite playing a lot of Guns of Icarus. I think if Guns of Icarus had an open world and objectives like Sea of Thieves, it would be a superior game, however, because the combat is the main focus of the game, and therefore has a lot more options. But Sea of Thieves has it beat in one area: boarding. The Guns of Icarus community has been clamoring for the ability to board other ships since its inception, and the developers have basically said it's impossible with the current game engine, and you should never expect it to be put into the game. Imagine my glee when I saw Sea of Thieves, a similar crew-based ship combat game that allowed boarding, and it's good, but not as good as it should be. The main problem is the respawn mechanics in Sea of Thieves, and I'm aware these are open to changing. If you kill someone on an enemy ship, they will be gone for 30 seconds, giving you time to loot their ship in a hurried manner, or possibly sink their ship before getting back on your own and sailing away. If you can't do both of those in that range of time, the player spawns back on their own ship and will likely kill you with the element of surprise. Even if you do get the drop on them and murder them again, you've only given yourself 30 more seconds to search or sink their ship. The Sea of Thieves community knows this is bad and has asked for it to change. When you kill a player, they should spawn somewhere else entirely, and you should be allowed to board their ship and sail it as if it were your own, pirating. If you merely sink their ship, the living crew of the sunken ship should have a chance at boarding your ship before you make your getaway, but I think when a player dies, they need to stay dead or teleport very far away. I imagine this respawn choice was to keep players on edge, even after the battle has basically been won, or maybe to incentivize that if you have a crew that can continue fighting in your death, that you won't be separated from them if they do eventually go on to win the fight. But it's still not great from a gaming perspective. It makes you feel like the effort you put in to kill another player was almost worth nothing. If this element changes, I think PvP would feel really rewarding, and as a consequence you would see more people participating in it. Got a crew of 4 dudes? Why not raid a smaller ship to give 2 of your crew members their own boat to help you as you sail around the server in a mini armada? That even come with the trade-off that your 4-man ship is now harder to maintain and manage with just 2 people versus 4. I think it'd be a really fun mechanic. Okay, one more comparison. PUBG is a game I know everyone has heard of and many people have played. You know why it's popular? It gives you a simple objective and gives you an infinite number of options to go about accomplishing that one objective. Every game you jump into will be different, and you'll be making a new story each time. And sometimes you'll even make a great story together with some friends. Can you come revive me? The circle's gonna shrink.
He's coming.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, if you can't kill him or whatever, then we're probably anyways. You got it. Alright, I'll watch the door. Grenade.
Yep.
Goodbye.
See ya.
That was a great throw, though. Sea of Thieves does the same thing, in that every combat encounter feels unique, and if you mapped out the storyline from beginning, middle, and end, you'd have a really cool story to tell people. But I don't think it gives you nearly enough options as PUBG or Fortnite to make this continually exciting. It doesn't even give you as many options as Guns of Icarus in terms of ships and weapons and items to bring on board your ship, and even Guns of Icarus isn't doing good right now. Now there's one more thing I want to talk about the PvP, and that's aiming. This game comes with crossplay, where you can play with people on Xbox One and PC together in the same server. Knowing this, the developers chose to handicap the PC keyboard and mouse players by making the sensitivity of aiming down your scope very, very, very low. Like you're using a joystick on a controller low. I don't mind this that much, and it is kind of fun because of how restrictive and difficult it is to aim. You might say that the intent is to provide players with a sense of pride and accomplishment, and maybe let's not go that far. The combat is difficult. The cannon aiming takes some learning. I like that there isn't some intrusive heads-up display or crosshair that gets in your view of the beautiful landscape. I don't mind if aiming the gun is super hard because it makes me feel good when I actually land a shot. And also it helps to know that your opponent is dealing with the same problems that you are. I like the ammo mechanic, similar to games like Team Fortress, where the only place to reload your precious 5 shots is a box on a ship, which means you can't go hog wild while shooting if you're not securely firing from your home base. A minor gripe I have is that when you fire the sniper rifle, it takes you out of the scope view whether you want to or not, making it really hard to track your shots and know whether you need to aim up or down. The cannon fire is much easier to see because it's a giant cannonball your eye follows like a golf drive off a tee box. But the bullets are a little harder to track, and the choice to look away from my scope to reload my rifle is not my choice, but the programming of my character, and I'm not very fond of it for that reason. Like, limit my sensitivity all you want, but if I have a plan to improve my aiming that any normal human in this world would do, don't make it impossible for me to carry out that plan. That's all. To sum up, I think Sea of Thieves is a good game. I think if it's handled well, Microsoft doesn't give me much confidence that it will be, but if it is handled well and updated regularly with new content and they lay off things like loot boxes and purchasing in-game currency with real money, I think it'll be a great game. However, it's telling that the video of gameplay the developers released basically says that the point of doing missions so you can get money is to buy cosmetic upgrades for your character so that you can look cool. The goal of the game is to look cool and become a pirate legend. How quickly do you think you'll see everyone in game decked out with the same 3 types of outfits from the 3 different factions? I was able to unlock all the highest cosmetic upgrades the beta allowed for in under 5 days of playing by myself. Unless we're talking things like just drastically raising the price for things like a neat trifold hat to the point where it takes 100 hours to buy it, is the game worth playing for that reward? Once you play the game that long to unlock the hat, the only thing you can do afterwards is continue playing the game with the hat. And I don't know if the game will stay that gripping or interesting with the limited gameplay ideas that Sea of Thieves is planning on giving us. If they add PvP matchmaking arena-like battles like Guns of Icarus, I don't think it even fixes this problem. Guns of Icarus struggles from not having the open world that Sea of Thieves does, because in Sea of Thieves having the open world means every ship you encounter is either trying to protect something they have or go after what you have. In an arena style mode, this kind of goes out the window. The stakes are much lower, which is kind of why Guns of Icarus is dying. Adding a non-PvP option for players to play peacefully in the world seems like a good idea, but if the server only has 16 people in it, then it's going to feel empty even if you somehow manage to get everyone coordinated and organized and going to Shipwreck Bay and exploring it for fun. And there's not much to explore anyways. And once you do explore it, you can't really explore it over again. I'd be willing to bet that years down the road there will be new worlds and maps or DLC available to players to explore again, but the community will have a hard drop-off once everyone has explored the first world, and you'll only get a fraction of those players back to explore the new one. Right now, I think the only way you can't get bored in this game is by bringing friends along, and it's worth mentioning that those 5 days I had in the closed beta were incredibly exciting and fun. I'm not knocking it for not being fun. I'm just knocking it because I don't think it can reasonably hope to maintain that level of fun throughout. $30 is my price point. Unless I can convince like 7 of my friends to go in with me for $60 at release. And that's knowing by month 2 we likely won't be playing it anymore because we'll have seen everything the game has to offer. Sea of Thieves is a good game, like a really good game, but I wouldn't call it great. I'm going to give my experience with the closed beta an 8 out of 10, but based on what I've seen coming down the pipeline, this is only going to be a solid 7 out of 10 game. It'll be fun for a couple months, but players will begin dropping off like flies, and it will be resigned to the world of Guns of Icarus, constantly adding things to try and entice players back into the game, but many of which have given up entirely out of boredom. This will be a cool game, but being cool doesn't always keep your attention. Thanks for watching.